I was 17, standing on my front porch in the middle of winter, barefoot, holding a trash bag with everything I owned, while my mother locked the door behind me like I was a stranger. Not her daughter. Not the girl she raised. Just a mistake she wanted erased. And the worst part? I was pregnant. Alone. And they told me I deserved it. What they didn't know was that 23 years later, they'd be the ones standing on my doorstep, begging. If you've ever been betrayed by the people who were supposed to love you the most, hit subscribe. Because this story, it's not just about survival. It's about what happens when the girl they threw away becomes the woman they can't ignore. I used to believe my parents loved me. Not the loud, affectionate kind of love you see in movies, but the quiet, structured kind. The kind that came with rules, expectations, and a constant reminder that I needed to be better. My dad believed in discipline. My mom believed in appearances. And me? I spent my whole childhood trying to be perfect enough to keep them both happy. I was the girl who came home before curfew. The girl who got good grades. The girl who didn't argue back, even when I wanted to scream. So when I met Jason during my junior year, I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. He made me feel seen. Like I wasn't just someone's daughter, but my own person. And for a while it felt safe. Until it wasn't. When I found out I was pregnant, I didn't cry at first. I just sat there on the edge of my bed, staring at the test in my hand, like if I blinked hard enough it would change. But it didn't. 2 lines. Clear. Final. I told Jason. He panicked. Said he wasn't ready. Said we needed to figure something out. And then he stopped answering my calls. So I did the only thing I thought I could do. I told my parents. I remember how my hands were shaking as I stood in the kitchen. My mom was slicing vegetables. My dad was reading the newspaper like it was just another normal night. And I said it. Quiet. Barely above a whisper. I'm pregnant. The silence that followed felt heavier than anything I had ever known. My mom dropped the knife. My dad slowly folded his paper. And then they looked at me. Not with concern. Not with worry. But with something colder. Something that made my chest tighten. Disgust. You've ruined your life, my father said flatly. No, my mother corrected, her voice sharp as glass. She's ruined ours. I tried to explain. I told them I was scared. That I didn't know what to do. That I needed them. But they didn't hear me. Or maybe they just didn't care. What they cared about was what people would say. The arguments lasted for hours. My mom crying about embarrassment. My dad pacing like I had personally betrayed him. And somewhere in the middle of it all, I realized something that broke me more than anything else. They weren't worried about me. They were worried about themselves. By midnight, my dad made his decision. You're not staying here, he said like he was talking about taking out the trash. I thought he didn't mean it. I thought they'd calm down. That this was just anger talking. But then my mom brought me a trash bag. Not a suitcase. Not even a box. A trash bag. Pack your things, she said, avoiding my eyes. I remember begging. Actually begging. Telling them I had nowhere to go. That I was still their daughter. That I needed them now more than ever. And my father just opened the front door. You made your choice, he said. Now live with it. That was the moment something inside me shattered. I stepped out into the cold with tears I couldn't even feel anymore. The door closed behind me. And just like that, I didn't have a family. I slept on a friend's couch for a week before her parents told me I couldn't stay anymore. After that, it was shelters. Cheap motels when I could afford them. Nights where I held my stomach and whispered to my baby that I was going to figure it out, even when I had no idea how. There were moments I almost gave up. Moments I thought maybe my parents were right. Maybe I had ruined everything. But then one night, sitting alone in a dimly lit room that smelled like smoke and regret, I looked at my reflection in the cracked mirror and didn't recognize the girl staring back at me. She looked tired, broken, scared. But there was something else too. Anger. Not loud. Not explosive. Quiet. Steady. Burning. And that's when I made a promise. I wasn't going to be the girl they threw away. I was going to be the woman they'd regret losing. And one day, I'd make sure they understood exactly what they did to me. I just didn't know yet how far I'd be willing to go to make that happen. The first time I held my daughter, everything changed. The fear didn't disappear, but it stopped controlling me. Because now it wasn't just about surviving anymore. It was about giving her a life no one could take away. I worked every job I could find. Waitressing during the day, cleaning offices at night, sometimes running on 2 hours of sleep and pure determination. There were nights I cried quietly so she wouldn't hear me. Nights I stared at bills I couldn't pay and wondered how I was going to make it through another week. But I never went back. Not once. Because I remembered that door closing. Years passed. Slowly, painfully, things started to change. I went back to school. Took classes in between shifts. Built something from nothing. It wasn't easy, and it wasn't fast, but it was mine. Every dollar, every small win. I earned it. By the time my daughter turned 10, we had our own place. Not fancy, but warm. Safe. Ours. And I made a promise to her that I would never, ever let her feel the way I did that night. But the real turning point came years later, when I started my own business. A small idea at first, something I built from my kitchen table. Long nights, risks that could have broken me, but they didn't. They built me. And then one day, I realized something almost surreal. I wasn't struggling anymore. I was thriving. The girl they threw out with a trash bag had built a life they couldn't even imagine. I hadn't spoken to my parents in over 2 decades. Not a call. Not a letter. Nothing. As far as I was concerned, they didn't exist. Until one afternoon, there was a knock at my door. I almost didn't answer it, but something told me to. And when I opened it, my chest went tight. It was them. Older. Smaller somehow. The same faces, but without the power they used to have over me. For a second, no one spoke. Then my mother's voice broke the silence. Softer than I had ever heard it. We need your help. Not we're sorry. Not we missed you. We need. I felt something cold settle inside me. Not anger. Not even sadness. Clarity. They explained everything in pieces. Financial trouble. Bad investments. Debt they couldn't escape. The same people who once cared so much about appearances were now desperate enough to show up at the door of the daughter they abandoned. And as they talked, I just stood there, listening, remembering. The cold porch. The trash bag. The silence after I said I was pregnant. You made your choice. My father's words echoed in my mind. And for the first time in 23 years, I finally understood something. This was the moment. Not loud. Not dramatic. But powerful. I stepped outside, closing the door gently behind me so my daughter wouldn't hear. I did need you once, I said quietly. More than anything. They looked at me, eyes filled with something I didn't recognize back then. Regret. But you taught me something that night, I continued. You taught me how to survive without you. My mother started crying. My father couldn't even meet my eyes. I don't owe you anything, I said. Not my time. Not my home. Not my life. There was no yelling. No revenge speech. Just truth. And sometimes, that's the most powerful kind of justice. I opened the door again, stepped back inside, and let it close behind me. This time, I was the one who walked away. And it didn't break me. It healed me. Because the real revenge wasn't shutting them out. It was building a life so full, so strong, that they no longer had a place in it. So if you've ever been made to feel like you're not enough, like you've been thrown away by the people who should have loved you, don't prove them wrong with words. Prove them wrong with your life. And if this story stayed with you, subscribe. Because sometimes, the strongest endings come from the most painful beginnings.